Cool. So one of the other aspects I wanted to discuss was how to review your sales process and make it more effective. So fine, you've got your leads in from whichever lead source. How do you start to understand sort of if you're performing well, and where do you start looking to sort of to improve that process?
Hey, the first step, and you'd expect me to say this is what we're called together, is to get a decent CRM, is to get the leads flowing into a platform that allows you to work those leads as well as possible. Anybody that's not using CRM technology for that is already starting at such a poor position to make the best return on investment on the money that they're spending on leads. So, absolutely, first stage is CRM, and then just make sure that the KPIs are really clearly defined. So, understand the sales funnel from lead generated through to job one, and that might be going through standard sales processes of contacted, voicemail left, follow up call, and just understand where the metrics are at each stage. Don't overcomplicate it. Have very simple buckets that you can keep revisiting. Um, and again, working out the balance for how you want to be perceived as a customer. So we'll give you an email address, we'll give you a phone number. How many times are you going to make a phone call without that phone being picked up? How many voicemails are you going to leave? How many emails are you going to send without response? Are you going to be able to track open rates or click rates in your emails? But understand all that from the start. Revisit it and refresh it along the way, but understand it from the start so that you can be consistent on your sales follow-up process. Um, you know,
Yeah.
so many times when we help clients with that sales process, and you kind of understand that actually some leads are simply not getting followed up at all, and some are getting overworked. The inconsistencies is where it's really difficult to measure performance. So having a very consistent sales process which suits the profile of the business that you want to be is really crucial.
Yeah, that's the consistent part is very important, because if you have
Yeah,
a really good period of following up and then you get busy and then you're focusing on all the jobs and then stop following up as well, then surprise, surprise, and week 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever your lag time is, you suddenly get a lull, and you're
yeah.
wondering why. But it's all tied back to the busy period where you weren't following up on the leads properly.
And by the time you hit the lull, you're too late, right? Because the lull's because the inconsistency in lead conversion or even lead follow up happened 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. So it sounds really simple and it sounds straightforward, but actually just defining what that process is and being true and consistent to it at all times will give you your best chance of at least measuring your return on investment. Might not be the ROI that you want, but at least you got that chance to measure it properly.
Yeah, funnily, years and years and years and years ago when I worked in retail, this is 10 plus years ago. Um, there was a bakery section in the store, and you'd often find a particular day someone would completely overbake certain items, and they go, "Well, people love these," and you go, "No, no, you love these, but the data doesn't show anyone buys them at this time of night." So you need to look at the data behind it. It just ties in with what you said. You can think that one lead source is working well, or one job type converts better, or one location type works better, but unless you really have that data to look at, um,
Yeah,
you can't do anything.
yeah. And it's so hard to do with that CRM, right? So hard to do. We can deliver our leads as we do with you guys via API straight into platforms, or we can deliver them via email for people that can only accept that. And it's very, very difficult and very manual, and tends to be one of those processes that kind of just get left to one side.
Yeah.
And so it's then very difficult to measure. Well, this monthly investment that I'm making into acquiring new customers, is it working out well? Am I getting a decent return? Should I increase? Should I decrease the volume? But really, until you've got that data in front of you, you're making uninformed decisions.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I try to avoid being too salesy about survey book or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
we talk about when it comes to the podcast and so on. But you're right; it is about consistency of process and access to data. And if you have very manual processes, one, it slows you down in terms of being able to follow up, and two, it's your reporting is then only as good as the data that you've put into a spreadsheet.
Mhm.
So if you haven't captured the exact time the lead came in, the exact time you've responded, the exact time you followed up, you can't generate those metrics as to how good your sales process is. Um,
Exactly.
and it's also very then hard to see. performing really well on one type of job but badly on another. So it actually is the lead source not working well. Is it a particular job that's not working well, a
Yep.
particular place? So it's yeah, there's huge benefits to that consistency aspect. The follow ups that you mentioned and all that type of stuff to get people at the right time. So
Yeah, yeah.
how often should you, I suppose, review your sales process? Like daily, I'm assuming is too much, but annually, I would say is also way too infrequent. So when's the right
Yeah.
time?
I would say a quarterly review. Again, we've had a strange market for the last few years, haven't we? And
Mm,
going back to that point of immediate follow up, people picking up the phone pretty much any time of the day because the majority of people were working remotely. We've started to see a slight shift from that back into office working. So I think it's important to review that on a fairly regular basis. But again, you've got to give it chance to show data that is there to review. And if you're constantly tweaking on a weekly basis, you're not going to start to see those trends that you really want to
mm,
see to say, oh, do you know what? The follow-ups that we do between 4 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. every day are converting at twice the level of the ones from 1 to 2 p.m. Let's carry on with that. If you tweak it too much and have sporadic kind of behaviors around those KPIs, you'll send yourself mad. So yeah, I would internally we do it ourselves. I would expect to come to review that on a quarterly basis.
yeah, I think that's a very good point around allowing enough time, because it's very easy to suddenly get a hunch or feel frustrated with something. Go, "Right, I'm going to change this and this and this and this," and you go,
Yeah,
which variable had the effect now? You have no
yeah.
idea. I
And that
suppose.
goes back to price as well, right? Because oh my God, my price is too high, my price is too low. I'm going to tweak it again. If you've made the decision for the price point to be that, you've based it on good data, or you should have done. So give it time to play out before you make knee-jerk reactions because you've had a really bad day or a really good day of conversion.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose on that point of conversion, what metrics should you look at when you're doing a sales process? Because conversion is obviously an easy one to look at, or a more obvious one to look at. But um, how detailed should you get? Should you do it by location or job type, or is it just conversion rate we look at, or is it average fee?
Yeah, I would, again, depending on the profile of the business, then I would actually build in as much as I could into that because it's going to give you valuable data at every point. Essentially, you're looking to build in a total ROI. So come all the way back to invoice, pre and post cancellation, mapping that back to lead, and then start to build in, like you say, location, survey type, time taken, from lead generated to invoice paid. I would build all of that into a dashboard. And again, once you've got it set up, it will pretty much look after itself.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And one of the things we try to build in is a big reporting page that has all of these, overlays for lead source and job type and user. And but I think
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to capture. I think conversion rates, uh, value of the converted jobs, average fee, and understand. Is it level two is working really well? Is it evaluations working well? Is it building surveys, um, rather than just a lead source overall? Um,
Mm.
or maybe do that again by location. You can get really sort of drill down if you want to, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
perhaps you want to refine things, because then you can tailor things in different places as well.
Absolutely, it can become more targeted.
Mm.
And if you're looking to then grow your team, bringing in somebody who can do valuations in Birmingham, hey, is going to produce a fantastic yield. So yeah, I don't think you can have too much granularity when it comes to that performance reporting. Like you can dip in and out and choose different report types, but I think it's really important to have that level of detail when you're trying to make those decisions.